She had only $283 in her bank account. The electricity company was about to shut off her power. Her daughter needed new shoes. And a stranger had just offered her $2,000 in cash, money she desperately needed. All she had to do was take it. But she said no. What happened next? Well, it changed not just her life, but the lives of hundreds of families. This is a true story about kindness, dignity, and how one simple choice can create ripples that touch the world. My name is, and welcome to Truly Black and White, where we share real stories that prove humanity has no color, only character. Let me tell you about Beatrice Anderson and the night that changed everything. Beatrice Anderson had been a seamstress for over 40 years. She learned the craft from her mother, who learned it from her grandmother. 3 generations of women sitting at the same sewing machine, making beautiful things with their hands. But let me be clear, this isn't a story about someone who was poor because they weren't working hard enough. No, Beatrice worked harder than most people could imagine. She opened her small shop, Anderson Alterations, every morning at 6 a.m. She worked until midnight sometimes. She was skilled, talented, and honest. But in a world where big corporations can charge hundreds of dollars for alterations, small shops like hers struggled to survive. Why? Because Beatrice had a problem. She couldn't say no to people who needed help. Mrs. Lopez would come in needing a dress hemmed. She cleaned houses for a living and could barely afford the $15 Beatrice normally charged. So Beatrice would say, "That'll be $10 today, Mrs. Lopez." Mr. Samuel, 82 years old, living on Social Security, needed a button replaced. Beatrice wouldn't charge him at all. "No charge today, Mr. Samuel. Can I get you some coffee?" Her friends would tell her, "Beatrice, you have bills too. You can't keep giving everything away." But Beatrice would just smile and say, "My mama taught me something important." She said, "When you see someone struggling, you don't make it worse. You make it better, even if it costs you something." Now, you might be thinking, that's a nice idea, but how can you run a business that way? And you'd be right to wonder. Because Beatrice was drowning in debt. Her 14-year-old daughter Nina needed new shoes. The toes were pushing through the old ones. There was a permission slip on the counter for a science camp, $350 that Beatrice didn't have. Nina wanted to be an engineer someday, but college seemed impossible. The electricity company had sent their final notice: pay $215 by Friday or lose power. Rent was due in 4 days, $950. Beatrice did the math over and over. She was $881 short. 4 days to find money that didn't exist. She'd lie awake at night, staring at the ceiling, wondering, am I being kind or am I just being foolish? But then she'd remember her mother's words. Every stitch is a promise. A promise that you care, that you see the person who will wear this, that you respect them enough to do it right. And she'd try again the next day. It was 8:58 p.m. on a Tuesday night. Beatrice was finishing up the last alteration of the day. Rain had started to fall outside. She was tired, her fingers hurt, and all she wanted was to go upstairs, check on Nina, and sleep. Then came the knock. Not a normal knock. Urgent. Almost desperate. Beatrice hesitated. A woman alone, late at night, in a neighborhood that wasn't always safe. Every instinct said lock the door and ignore it. But then she looked through the window. A man stood there, maybe 50 years old, completely soaked from the rain. No umbrella. And the look on his face wasn't angry or demanding. It was terrified. She opened the door, just a crack. "We're closed," she said. "Please," the man's voice broke. "I know it's late. I'm so sorry. But I saw your light on and I'm desperate. Every other shop is closed and I have nowhere else to go." Something in his voice made Beatrice open the door wider. He practically fell inside, water dripping everywhere. "Thank you. Thank you so much." Beatrice looked at him properly now. Expensive suit, but the shoulder was completely torn. The lining hung out like a wound. His hands were shaking. "What happened?" she asked. I flew in for a meeting tomorrow morning, he explained, words tumbling out fast. The most important meeting of my life. The airline lost my luggage. I had to buy this suit as an emergency, and then I caught it on a car door and he stopped, trying to steady his breathing. If I don't look professional tomorrow, 300 people are going to lose their jobs. Now, Beatrice had heard a lot of excuses from customers over the years. But something about the way he said it, he wasn't exaggerating. He wasn't trying to get a discount. He was genuinely terrified. She took the jacket from him and examined it under her work lamp. This wasn't a simple fix. The entire shoulder seam had ripped, taking part of the lining with it. This was 4 hours of careful, detailed work. This is serious damage, she said quietly. Full seam reconstruction, lining repair, pressing. This is expensive work and it's going to take all night. I'll pay anything, the man said immediately, pulling out his wallet. It was thick with cash. I have $2,000 right here. It's yours. All of it. Please. Beatrice stared at the money in his hand. $2,000. Let me pause here for a moment because this is important. Have you ever been in a situation where you desperately needed something and it was right there in front of you, where all you had to do was reach out and take it? Beatrice's mind raced. $2,000 would solve everything. Electricity bill, paid. Rent, paid. Nina's shoes, bought. Science camp, affordable. She'd still have money left over. Her hand started to reach for the cash. Then she stopped. She looked at the man's face, really looked. His eyes were red from rain, or had he been crying? When he'd pulled out his wallet, a photo had fallen out. He'd scrambled to pick it up, protective. It was a teenage girl in a white coat. My daughter Caroline, he'd said softly. She's in medical school. Beatrice thought about Nina upstairs, sleeping, dreaming of college she couldn't afford. She thought about her mother's old newspaper clipping on the wall. The story of how her mother had fixed a bride's wedding dress 2 hours before the ceremony and refused payment. The headline read, "Local seamstress saves wedding day." Her mother had written on the back of that clipping, "When someone's drowning, you don't charge them for the rope. You throw it free." Beatrice pushed the man's hand back, the hand holding $2,000. "No," she said quietly. He blinked. "What? I can't take your money. But you need to be paid. This is 4 hours of work." "You're desperate," Beatrice said softly. "You're scared. Your daughter's future might depend on tomorrow." She gestured to the shut-off notice on her desk. He could see it. She wasn't hiding her struggle. "I need money desperately too. But not like this." "I don't understand," he said. Beatrice sat down at her sewing machine and started threading a needle. "My mama taught me something. When someone's drowning, you don't charge them for the rope." The man, his name was Gregory, just stared at her with tears in his eyes. "Why?" He whispered. "You don't even know me." "I know you're a father trying to save people's jobs," Beatrice replied. "I know you showed me your daughter's picture like she's your whole world. I know you're standing in my shop at 9 p.m. in the rain because you're out of options." She looked up at him. "That's enough. But the bill on your desk? I'll figure it out. I always do." She managed a smile. "Now take off that jacket. We're burning 4 hours of night." For the next 4 hours, Beatrice worked. Her fingers moved with the precision that comes from 40 years of practice. Remove the damaged stitching carefully. Don't rush. Rushing ruins everything. Gregory watched from a chair, mesmerized. "You make it look like surgery," he said. "It is surgery," Beatrice replied, "just on fabric instead of people." They talked while she worked. Gregory told her about the meeting, a merger between his company and another. If it went through, 3 factories would stay open. 300 people would keep their jobs, their insurance, their homes. If it doesn't? Beatrice asked. They close. Everyone gets laid off right before the holidays. So tomorrow isn't about you. It's about them. Yes, His voice cracked. But if I walk in looking like I can't even keep my own suit together, why would they trust me to keep a company together? Because appearance isn't everything, Beatrice said. Gregory laughed, actually laughed. In my world, it's almost everything. Then your world needs better priorities. At 10:15, the lights flickered and died. Complete darkness. Oh no, Gregory started to panic. Drawer on your left, Beatrice said calmly. Candles and matches. He fumbled in the dark, found them, lit 6 candles. Beatrice was already repositioning her work under the candlelight, continuing to sew. You've done this before? He asked, amazed. Hurricane Rita, Hurricane Harvey. Can't let a little blackout stop progress. How can you even see? My fingers remember. She threaded the needle by feel. Your eyes adjust. Give it a minute. Gregory watched her work by candlelight, the needle catching the flame's reflection with each pass. How long have you been doing this? He asked quietly. Since I was 7. Mama taught me. She learned from her grandmother. Your mother, she taught you more than sewing, didn't she? Beatrice's hand slowed. She taught me that every stitch is a promise that you care, that you see the person who will wear this, that you respect them enough to do it right. At midnight, the power came back on. Under the bright lights, Beatrice inspected every inch of the repair. It was invisible. Perfect. 1 more hour, she announced. Gregory stood and stretched. Can I help? Hold this section taut while I secure it. They worked together, his hands following her quiet instructions. 2 strangers who'd found an unexpected rhythm. I haven't made anything with my hands since I was a kid, Gregory said softly. My grandfather and I used to build model airplanes. He was a factory worker. He used to say, if your name's on it, make it worthy of your name. Beatrice smiled. Mama said the same thing. At 1:03 a.m., she held up the jacket. Done. Gregory put it on. The fit was perfect. He studied himself in the small mirror on her wall. I can't even see where it was torn. That's the point. Good repair work is invisible. He touched the shoulder seam with something like reverence. This is better than when I bought it. That's what you do when you care. Gregory checked his watch. He'd have to leave soon, get a few hours of sleep before the meeting. He reached for his wallet again. Gregory pulled out the same stack of bills from earlier, but this time he counted out even more. $2,500, he said, laying the cash on her work table. For 4 hours of emergency work through a storm by candlelight. This is fair payment. More money than Beatrice had seen in one place in years. Her eyes locked on it. Her brain did the math automatically. Every bill paid, every problem solved. Nina's shoes. The science camp. Groceries for 2 months. Her hand moved toward the bills, fingers almost touching them. Then, stopped. She pushed the money back across the table. No. Gregory stared at her. What? But you earned it. It's not fair, Beatrice said, her voice steady. You're desperate. You're scared. I don't take money from people who are drowning. But you need it. He gestured at the shut-off notice on her desk. I can see your bills. I do need it. Desperately. Her voice didn't waver. But if I take it, what I did stops being kindness. It becomes a transaction. What's wrong with a transaction? Nothing, usually. She met his eyes. But you came to my door at 9 p.m. in the rain because you'd run out of options. You were terrified. You trusted me. She pushed the money firmly into his hands. If I take this, that moment becomes different. It becomes me taking advantage of your fear. And I won't do that. Tears ran down Gregory's face. Nobody's ever... Take that money, Beatrice said gently. Put it toward your daughter's education. Go save those 300 jobs. That's enough payment for me. He wiped his eyes. Can I at least leave my contact information in case you or your daughter ever need anything? He pulled out a business card, then stopped. Instead, he tore a piece of paper from her notepad and wrote Gregory and a phone number. Just in case. No pressure. Beatrice took the paper and folded it. Thank you. Outside, a black car with a driver had been waiting for over 4 hours. Gregory shook her hand. His grip was firm, grateful. He held on for a long moment. I'll never forget this, he said. Ever. Go save those jobs, Gregory. He smiled through tears. I will, because of you. The car pulled away into the night. Beatrice locked the door and stared at her empty work table, where $2,500 had been minutes ago. Her hands were shaking now, the adrenaline fading, the reality setting in. She'd just turned down enough money to solve every problem in her life. Was she crazy? Was she stupid? She didn't know anymore. She climbed the stairs, checked on Nina, still sleeping peacefully, and collapsed into bed. Tomorrow she'd wake up and face the same bills, the same impossible math, the same struggle. But tonight, she'd kept a promise to her mother. She'd thrown someone a rope without charging for it. That had to count for something. She fell asleep believing she'd done the right thing. She had no idea that in less than 9 hours, everything would change. The alarm went off at 7 a.m. 4.5 hours of sleep. Beatrice made Nina breakfast, forced a smile, sent her to school. Just another day. Except it wasn't. At 9:45 a.m., a black SUV drove slowly past her shop. Once. Twice. Then parked across the street. At 10:15 a.m., a different black car. A woman in a sharp suit got out, stared into Beatrice's window, made a phone call while looking directly at her, then drove away. Mr. Samuel, one of her regular customers, looked up from his newspaper. That was strange. Very strange, Beatrice agreed, a knot forming in her stomach. Her phone rang. Unknown number. Anderson Alterations. Is this Beatrice Anderson? A man's voice. Professional. Cold. Yes. Who's calling? Please confirm your business address. Beatrice gave it, confused. What is this about? You were open last night around 9 p.m.? Her stomach tightened. I had a late customer. Why? Thank you for confirming. Click. Then Nina called, her voice scared. Mom, there's a weird car outside my school. A man came to the office asking questions about me. The secretary called security. Beatrice's heart dropped. Stay inside. Don't leave with anyone but me. At 10:47 a.m., 3 vehicles pulled up in front of her shop. All at once. 8 people stepped out. Dark suits. Briefcases. Moving toward her shop like they meant business, Beatrice backed away from the door. The lead man opened it without knocking. Miss Beatrice Anderson? Her voice trembled. Who are you? He pulled out credentials. Richard Sterling, Senior Legal Counsel. We need to speak with you immediately regarding last night. I just fixed a suit. Beatrice's voice cracked. I didn't do anything wrong. His expression was unreadable. We know that's exactly why we're here. A woman stepped forward. Miss Anderson, I'm Melanie Brooks. What we need to discuss is sensitive. We need privacy. Privacy for what? Am I being sued? No, Richard said. But we need to talk about Gregory Ashford and what you did for him last night. Another lawyer opened a tablet and turned it toward her. Forbes magazine cover. The face she'd spent 4 hours with last night stared back at her. The headline, Gregory Ashford, the reluctant billionaire reshaping American manufacturing. Below it, net worth $4.2 billion. Beatrice's vision blurred. She grabbed the table to steady herself. That's him. That's Gregory. Gregory Ashford, Richard confirmed. CEO and founder of Ashford Industries. The room tilted. Mr. Samuel grabbed her arm. Sit down, honey. She collapsed into a chair. $4.2 billion. They showed her more images. Gregory at the White House. Gregory at the United Nations. Gregory receiving humanitarian awards. No, Beatrice whispered. He was just a man. Just a scared father with a torn suit. He was both, Melanie said gently. They explained everything. Ashford Industries, 47 manufacturing facilities, 12,000 employees, $3.8 billion in annual revenue. The meeting that morning, the merger that would save 300 jobs, it had happened successfully. And Gregory had told the board of directors about her. They showed her an email he'd sent at 3:17 a.m. right after leaving her shop. The subject line, "What I learned last night." Beatrice read it with shaking hands. "Last night I met someone who reminded me what leadership actually means. A woman who had every reason to say no, said yes. Who had every reason to take money, refused it. Who chose dignity over survival. I've spent 25 years building this company. Tonight, a seamstress taught me more about character than I learned in all those years. Tomorrow, I walk into that boardroom remembering it's not about the bottom line. It's about the people." Beatrice was crying now. "He wrote this about me? He sent it to 200 executives before the board meeting," Melanie said. "He told them your story. And it changed everything." The board chairman had noted Mr. Ashford's composure and clarity were remarkable. Something changed in Gregory. He seemed human. The story had leaked to the press. It went viral in 2 hours. Twitter hashtags were trending. Hashtag the suit that saved jobs. Hashtag billionaire and seamstress. News headlines, "Mystery seamstress saves Ashford deal. The woman who said no to $2,500. "How does anyone know about this?" Beatrice whispered. Gregory told the board. "Someone leaked it, and now the whole world wants to know who you are." Beatrice stood up too fast. The room spun. "This can't be real. I'm nobody. He's a billionaire. This doesn't make sense." Her knees buckled. They caught her, helped her sit back down. "Why are you here?" Beatrice asked. "Why did you bring lawyers?" Richard and Melanie exchanged glances. "Because Gregory Ashford is on his way here right now. He'll arrive in 10 minutes. They spread papers across her work table. Architectural plans, legal contracts, financial projections. Her name was on all of them. "What is all this?" "Your future," Melanie said softly, "if you'll let it." Outside, another car pulled up, more expensive than the others. Security stepped out first. Then Gregory Ashford, the man she'd spent 4 hours with last night, the man she'd refused money from, the billionaire she'd treated like any other person who needed help. He walked toward her door. And Beatrice realized nothing would ever be the same again. Gregory walked through the door, and despite all the security and lawyers and cameras outside, he went straight to Beatrice. "Beatrice, thank you for seeing me." She stood on shaking legs. "You're really him. The billionaire. I'm really him." He gestured to the lawyers. "Can we have the room? Just us?" They stepped out. Mr. Samuel started to leave too. "Stay," Beatrice said. She needed someone on her side. Gregory sat across from her eye level. "Equal. I owe you an apology. For the circus. For the shock. For not telling you who I was." He paused. "But if I had, would you have treated me the same?" She thought about it honestly. "No. I would have been nervous. Different. Exactly. I needed someone to see me. Not my money. Just me. You did that. I just fixed a suit." "No." His voice was firm. "You fixed me. When the board chairman challenged me this morning, I didn't cite data or profit margins. I told him about you. I said last night, someone gave me everything when I had nothing to offer. She trusted me. She risked her time for 300 people she'll never meet. If she can do that, we can do this." Tears streamed down Beatrice's face. The room went silent. Gregory continued. "Then the chairman voted yes. 300 families still have jobs because you said no to money." He called the lawyers back in. They spread documents across her table. Architectural renderings, legal contracts, financial projections. "Last night you gave everything and asked for nothing," Gregory said. "Today I'm asking you to accept something. Not payment. Partnership." He explained the vision, a tailoring division within Ashford Industries, with Beatrice as director and 30% equity partner. They would preserve Anderson alterations, her mother's machine, her mother's photo, the name, but expand it. modern equipment. Training center. 6 workstations. Investment, $2.1 million. Beatrice would hire 10 local tailors. Starting salary, $45,000 with full benefits. Within 3 years, 150 jobs nationally. And here's the part that made Beatrice cry harder than anything else. Every Saturday, free tailoring for job seekers. Interview suits, professional alterations, funded by the Ashford Foundation. Like you did for me, Gregory said, when it matters most. Her salary, $120,000 annually plus profit sharing. But there was more. An Ashford Foundation scholarship, full ride for Nina. 4 years, any university, tuition, room, board, stipend, up to $320,000. Your daughter shouldn't have to work 2 jobs while studying, Gregory said quietly. She should become the engineer she's meant to be. Beatrice couldn't speak. She just sobbed. Nina arrived 20 minutes later, saw the crowd, her mother's tears. Mom, what's wrong? Beatrice explained everything. Nina's eyes grew wider with each word. When Beatrice finished, Nina took her mother's hands. Mom, this is your dream. Grandma's dream. It's scary, baby. Nina smiled through her own tears. You worked 4 hours in the dark for a stranger. You can do anything. Beatrice looked at Gregory, at the contracts, at Nina's hopeful face. She picked up the pen, her hand shook. You're not signing your life away, Gregory said gently. You're signing into it. Beatrice Anderson signed. Once, twice, 10 times. Welcome to Ashford Industries, Director Anderson, Richard said with a smile. Gregory pulled out a small box. Inside, professional sewing tools, gold scissors, the finest thread. A card inside read, every master craftsperson deserves master tools. Beatrice held the scissors and cried, It's too beautiful. You're too talented to struggle anymore. Let me fix that. She'd said no to $2,000 and gained everything. 6 months later, Anderson Alterations had transformed into something extraordinary. The Houston flagship had created 23 new jobs, 6 more locations opened nationally. The Free Saturday program had helped 247 job seekers. 68% of them found employment within 30 days. Nina was accepted to Howard University on a full scholarship, premed track. But the numbers don't tell the whole story. One Tuesday night, 6 months to the day, Beatrice was working late. Rain started outside. At 8:58 p.m., the exact same time, there was an urgent knock at the door. A young woman stood there, soaked and terrified. She had a job interview the next day, a torn skirt, and $40 to her name. Beatrice fixed it for free. While working, they talked. The woman's name was Sarah. She wanted to teach 3rd grade. She'd had a teacher who changed her life once. Miss Washington, Sarah said, she saw something in me nobody else did. Beatrice's hands paused. Dorothy Washington works here. She's one of my seamstresses. Sarah's face lit up. That's my grandmother. The circle continued. Here's what I want you to understand, and I'm going to say this clearly so even my youngest viewers can understand. Beatrice didn't have special powers. She didn't have money or connections or a fancy education. She just had character. And character is a choice we make every single day. When someone needs help, you can choose to help them, even when it costs you something. When someone is desperate, you can choose to see their humanity, not their wallet. When life gives you a chance to be kind, you can choose kindness, even when it's hard. Beatrice chose kindness when she had every reason not to. And it changed hundreds of lives, not because she was black or white, not because of where she came from or how much money she had, because she chose to be decent. And here's the truth, you have that same power right now. Maybe you can't give someone $2,000, but you can give them respect. Maybe you can't change 300 lives, but you can change one. Maybe you can't build a business empire, but you can be kind to the person in front of you. Because humanity has no color. It has no price tag. It doesn't care about your bank account or your zip code. Humanity is simply about how we treat each other when nobody's watching, when it costs us something, when it would be easier to say no. Beatrice said yes. What will you choose? If this story moved you, share it with someone who needs to hear it today. Leave a comment telling us about a time when someone showed you unexpected kindness, or when you had a chance to be kind to someone else. Hit that like button if you believe kindness still matters in this world. And subscribe to Truly Black and White, because we're going to keep bringing you stories that prove what really matters isn't the color of our skin, it's the content of our character. Remember, one act of kindness can change everything. You never know whose life you might be saving. I'll see you in the next story.